Howdy everyone, Doug here at the TJet Club. I'm going to show you a demonstration on how I remove some of the copper and the rivets from TJet Chassis. So I've got a couple of them here. I'll show you a quick demonstration. One of them is a solid chassis, solid rivet chassis. I've also got a hollow rivet chassis. I'll show you how I go about removing the rivets from both styles. Now, the way that I do it might be different than some of the other people that do it, and that's okay. This isn't the way to do it, this is just a way to do it. This is the way that I do it and the way that I feel comfortable doing it. I've been a jeweler for close to 40 years, so some of the tools that I use are jewelry specific, but that doesn't mean that we can't use them in our hobby. So the first tool that I'm gonna use is, I don't use a Dremel, just because a Dremel has just a couple of speeds and you don't have as much control. So I use what's called a Fordham, which has a foot control, so I can control the variable speed from very slow to very fast. And it's got a flex shaft and a hand piece that I like. This is a quick release hand piece, so I can use tools in it, and they work good. I like them because I got a lot of control. It's not big and bulky like a Dremel. It's like holding a pistol. You know, this is more like holding a pencil. The tool that I'm going to use to remove the rivets is a bulber. This is a 3mm bulber, and I'll show you how I go about it. Also, one of the tools that is very important to me that I use is these right here. They're visors, and these lenses. This one is customized because I customize things, so you can see it's pretty cool. But the lenses, you can replace them. They got 3 power, 5 power, 7 power, 10 power. This is a 7 power, just because I like to get real close to my work, see what I'm doing. So as I do this, I'll be using these. So let's show you how I go about it. Okay, the first thing that I do is I stabilize the chassis so that it doesn't move on me. And I'm going to grind away the head of the rivet from the backside, and I'm going to go at a fairly slow speed, and I'm going to position the chassis so that if the burr does happen to grab, it'll actually grab this way and might go into the top plate, but I want to keep the cutting edge away from the plastic. So if I'm doing it this way and it grabs, it might get into some of the plastic. I don't want to do that. So whenever I position my piece, as I'm grinding this one, I'm going to put it this way. Grinding this one, I'm going to do the same thing. When I grind this one, I'm going to do this way in case it grabs, so it doesn't damage the chassis, and then the same thing here. So you'll see how I go about it. I'm going to put, this is called burr lubricant. I'm just going to add just a little bit to the burr just to help it cut. And I'm just going to kind of go in here slowly. And I don't cut all the way through the rivet. If you can see, I cut just the head of the rivet off, and I can almost see the actual rivet under there, and that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not going to cut the head completely off. I'm just going to get it real close, and then I'll move on to the next one. I'm using my visors, and I'm watching very closely how deep I go. And you can see my hands. I'm holding the hand piece very firmly. I'm holding the chassis very firmly. I don't want anything to move. And then the last one, I rotate it again. If this just happens to grab, I don't want it to get into the chassis. So I'm positioning it so that if it gets away, it just hits the copper, which I'm replacing anyway. And again, you can hear how fast the motor is spinning. I don't use a Dremel just because I don't have that control. I use the foot pedal. Now, if you look here, I've got all the heads of the rivets taken down, and now I'm going to use this tool here, and all it is just kind of it's not a sharp awl, but it's fairly sharp. This is a broken burr, but it's kind of like a nail or something. So what I'm going to do is center that in the center of the rivet and then press, and then I press the rivets out the rest of the way. And then you can see that, and all the pieces just fall right off. And that's how I go about removing the copper on a solid rivet chassis. Now on a hollow rivet chassis, I'll go about it a little bit differently because the rivet is actually, the metal is thinner, so I don't have as much grinding to do. I'm going to use the same 3mm tungsten ball burr, and I'm just going to put it in the hole and then just slowly drill. And as I'm drilling, I'm just kind of rotating the burr. I'm going to add a little bit of this just to help it cut. And then I'm just going to go in there. And on these, you don't have to go very, very deep. You can tell I'm going at a slow rate with my motor. And once it gets through the head, the hollow top of the rivet will actually start spinning and just kind of separate from the bottom part. And these usually go pretty quick. So all 4 of those have spun. And again, I'll take this tool, push the rivets down, and that quickly, all the copper is gone. Now on all of these pieces that I take out, I keep all of these because sometimes they're good and I can use them to replace copper in other broken chassis. So that's how I go about removing the broken copper from these chassis, the 2 different types, solid and the hollow rivets. Now what I'll do is I'll take these, put them in my ultrasonic cleaner. I got a professional ultrasonic cleaner that's got an ammonia-based cleaner in it that cleans up all of the old debris and gives me a fresh chassis to start to put back together. So hope that helps. In the future, I'll put together another video that shows how I go about putting the rivets back into these things. So hope that helps. Thanks for stopping by the TJet Club. Make sure you subscribe because there's all kinds of TJet goodness coming at you. Boy, when these things are done, don't that just look sexy? Those are so cool. But one of the reasons I'm showing you this is if you want to tackle this yourself, that's why I'm giving you some information. But if you don't have the tools or don't have the dexterity or the time or the patience, go to TJetClub.com. There's a tab there that says service. And one of the services that we provide is repairing TJet chassis and a little bit of AFX and stuff like that. So if you don't want to tackle this yourself, but you have some broken chassis that you want repaired, reach out to us, send us your chassis. We will make them good as new. TJetClub.com.